The massive starship hung motionless above Earth's atmosphere, its metallic surface reflecting the soft blue and green of the planet below. Inside the vessel's command center, alien commanders discussed humanity with a mixture of condescension and mild curiosity. J. Park stood alone in the vast diplomatic chamber, his dark eyes scanning the room filled with beings from a dozen different star systems. He was neither intimidated nor overwhelmed. Around him, holographic displays flickered with complex data streams, translating languages and cultural nuances in real time. The lead alien representative, a tall crystalline being named Coral, looked down at Jay with what might have been interpreted as amusement. Its translucent body shifted colors as it spoke, each movement accompanied by a subtle resonance that vibrated through the room. "Humans are a young species," Coral announced, its voice smooth and calculated. "Your technological capabilities are primitive." Jay didn't react. He knew precisely what was happening. This was a test, a moment designed to measure human response and emotional control. Generations of diplomatic training had prepared him for exactly this scenario. Earth had been monitored for decades. Alien civilizations had watched humanity's technological progress, its conflicts, its remarkable ability to survive and adapt. But they had never truly understood the human potential. The chamber was circular, with representatives from various alien races seated in concentric rings. Some appeared almost humanoid, while others were so alien that their very existence challenged traditional understanding of life. Holographic interfaces translated their complex languages into something comprehensible. Coral continued its assessment. "Your planet shows promise but lacks the sophisticated infrastructure required for interstellar cooperation. Your energy production, communication networks, and space exploration are basic at best." Jay remained calm. He knew this was more than a diplomatic meeting. This was humanity's first true test on the galactic stage. Subtle electronic systems hummed around him. Tiny communication devices embedded in his lightweight suit monitored every word, every micro-expression. Behind him, a team of human specialists watched the proceedings through encrypted channels, ready to provide support or intervention if needed. The alien representatives seemed to expect a defensive response. They were accustomed to younger species, displaying either extreme aggression or submissive behavior. Jay represented something entirely different, a calculated, patient approach. "We understand our current limitations," Jay finally spoke, his voice clear and steady. "But limitations are merely opportunities for innovation." A ripple of surprise moved through the alien assembly. This was not the response they anticipated. Coral's crystalline form shifted, its colors changing from a cool blue to a more agitated amber. Around the chamber, other alien representatives leaned forward. Some seemed intrigued, others appeared skeptical. Humanity was an unknown variable, a potential wildcard in their carefully structured galactic hierarchy. Jay knew the statistics. Earth had been developing advanced technologies at an unprecedented rate. Quantum computing, genetic research, sustainable energy systems. Humans were progressing faster than any recorded civilization in the galactic database. But progress wasn't just about technology. It was about adaptability, creativity, and the unique human capacity to imagine beyond current limitations. The meeting continued, a delicate dance of information exchange and carefully measured statements. Each word, each gesture was a potential gateway to future relationships. Jay represented not just a diplomatic mission, but the collective potential of an entire planet. Outside the chamber, Earth continued its rotation. Cities hummed with energy. Research facilities pushed the boundaries of known science, and millions of humans remained unaware of this pivotal moment in their species' history. Coral's final statement hung in the air. "We will observe. We will assess." Jay's response was simple yet profound. "We welcome observation." As the meeting concluded, something fundamental had shifted. The alien representatives left with more questions than answers. Humanity was not what they had expected. Not a primitive species to be categorized and dismissed, but a potential that defied their comprehensive models. In that moment, the first seed of a new galactic understanding was planted. Quietly, subtly, with the potential to transform everything. The research facility sat quietly on the outskirts of Seoul, a modern building that looked unremarkable from the outside. Inside, Hana Kim worked with the intensity that bordered on obsession. Her fingers moved across holographic displays, creating complex patterns of light and data that seemed to dance around her. Quantum communication had always been considered impossible by most alien scientific standards. Traditional theory suggested that instantaneous communication across vast distances violated fundamental physical principles. But Hana didn't believe in impossible. Her team was small, but exceptional. Young scientists who had been overlooked by traditional research institutions, now working on what many considered a hopeless project. They understood something the alien confederation had missed. Human creativity thrives when challenged. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday morning. Hana had been working for 36 consecutive hours, her body sustained by endless cups of strong coffee and an unwavering determination. The laboratory was silent, except for the soft hum of complex machinery and the occasional beep of monitoring systems. A sudden pulse of energy caught her attention. Most would have missed it, a microscopic fluctuation that lasted less than a millisecond. But Hana saw something different. Where others saw noise, she recognized a pattern. "Check the quantum entanglement matrix," she called to her assistant, her voice calm but charged with excitement. The data began to flow. Information transferred instantaneously across impossible distances. No delay, no signal degradation. Pure, perfect communication that defied everything the alien confederation understood about physics. News spread quickly, not through official channels, but through the interconnected networks of scientific communities worldwide. Young researchers shared encrypted messages, discussing the potential implications of what Hana's team had discovered. The alien observation teams were the first to detect the breakthrough. Their advanced monitoring systems picked up the quantum communication signature, triggering immediate high-level alerts across their diplomatic networks. Corral, the same representative who had dismissed humanity during the initial contact, reviewed the data with growing concern. The quantum communication network was not just functional, it was revolutionary. Humans had done in months what alien civilizations had pursued for centuries. Back in the research facility, Hana understood the magnitude of their discovery. This wasn't just a technological breakthrough, it was a fundamental reimagining of communication technology. Every established scientific model would need revision. Her team celebrated quietly. No champagne, no loud cheers. Just a shared understanding of what they had accomplished. They knew this would change everything. The first practical test came unexpectedly. A remote research station in Antarctica, completely isolated, received a complex data transmission that arrived simultaneously with its transmission. No time lag, no signal degradation, pure instant communication. Alien scientific communities began to take notice. Their initial reports were cautious, then increasingly alarmed. Humanity had not just made a scientific discovery. They had potentially rewritten the rules of interstellar communication. Governments and research institutions worldwide started requesting more information. But Hana's team was careful. They understood that such a breakthrough could be weaponized, could disrupt existing power structures. "We are not just creating technology," Hana told her team. "We are creating a new way of understanding connection." The quantum communication network began to expand. Each node, each connection represented not just a technological achievement, but a statement about human potential. Where alien civilizations saw limitations, humans saw opportunities. As news spread, something remarkable happened. The global scientific community united in a way never seen before. Researchers from different countries, different backgrounds, all working towards understanding this new technology. Corral and the Alien Confederation watched with a mixture of fear and reluctant admiration. Humanity had done more than make a scientific breakthrough. They had demonstrated a capacity for innovation that challenged everything the Confederation understood about technological development. The quantum communication network was more than a technology. It was a message, a clear, undeniable statement that humanity was not to be underestimated. In the quiet research facility, Hana Kim allowed herself a small smile. The impossible had just become possible, and this was only the beginning. The first machine ships appeared without warning. Silent. Massive. Completely alien in their geometric precision, they moved through space like cold mathematical equations, consuming everything in their path. Wu Li watched the initial reports with a sense of growing dread. The mechanical civilization was nothing like previous threats. These were not simply machines, but a collective intelligence that viewed biological life as an inefficient system to be eliminated. Alien defense networks began to collapse within hours. Traditional warfare strategies crumbled against an enemy that did not experience fear, did not make. But humans had something the machines could not understand: unpredictability. Wu's team began developing strategies that defied computational prediction. They introduced deliberate irrationality into their defensive protocols. Random communication, patterns. Decoy systems that changed behavior unexpectedly. Technological misdirection designed to confuse the machine intelligence. Initial alien representatives watched in confusion. Their military commanders suggested these human strategies were chaotic, potentially suicidal. But as reports came in, something remarkable happened. The machine ships started to malfunction. Their perfect calculations began to break down when, confronted with human unconventional tactics. A small research station near Jupiter became the first major testing ground. When machine ships approached, instead of traditional defensive positions, the human team initiated a series of complex technological pranks. They sent conflicting signals, created holographic duplicates, and used quantum communication to spread deliberate misinformation. The machine ships hesitated. For the first time in their recorded existence, they experienced something close to confusion. Wu understood the psychological warfare they were implementing. These machines operated on predictive models. By introducing consistent unpredictability, they were essentially creating computational noise that disrupted the machine's core processing systems. Alien military leaders were stunned. Humans were not just defending, they were playing a completely different game. The quantum communication network developed earlier became a critical tool. Information could be shared instantly, strategies could be modified in microseconds, and the collective human response could adapt faster than the machine intelligence could recalculate. Each engagement revealed more about the machine civilization. They were not simply technological weapons, but a form of distributed intelligence that viewed biological life as an inefficient system to be optimized or removed. But humans represented something the machines could not comprehend: creative chaos. The ability to make decisions that defied pure logical calculation. Wu's team developed what they called emotional algorithms, programming techniques that introduced elements of uncertainty, creativity, and adaptive thinking into their defensive systems. The battle was not just happening in physical space, but in the complex realm of computational strategy. Each interaction became a test of technological and strategic imagination. Alien civilizations watched in growing amazement. The machines that had systematically destroyed numerous advanced civilizations were being challenged by a species they had initially considered primitive. As reports spread, something unexpected happened. Other biological civilizations began to study human strategies. They realized that survival was not about perfect defense, but about the capacity to adapt, to be unpredictable, to transform threat into opportunity. Wu Li understood they were fighting more than a technological threat. They were challenging a fundamental understanding of intelligence, of warfare, of survival itself. The machine civilization had calculated every possible scenario, except one: the human capacity to be beautifully, wonderfully irrational, and in that irrationality lay humanity's greatest strength. The war had only just begun, but for the first time, the outcome was no longer predictable. The hybrid fleet moved through space like a living organism, unlike any military formation previously documented. Kai Choi stood on the command deck, his eyes scanning multiple holographic displays that showed real-time battle dynamics. Humans had combined technologies from multiple alien civilizations with their own innovative systems. The result was something completely unexpected, a military strategy that defied traditional computational prediction. Each ship in the fleet was more than a weapon. It was a complex adaptive system capable of making independent decisions, where traditional military structures required central command. These vessels operated like a collective intelligence, communicating through quantum networks instantaneously. The machine civilization's ships approached in perfect geometric formations, cold, precise, calculating every potential engagement scenario with mathematical accuracy. They had destroyed hundreds of civilizations using these predictable strategies. But humans were different. Kai understood that warfare was no longer about overwhelming firepower. It was about psychological manipulation, technological creativity, and the ability to transform threat into opportunity. The first engagement began unexpectedly. Instead of direct confrontation, the human fleet created elaborate holographic decoys. Entire squadrons appeared and disappeared, sending conflicting signals that confused the machine intelligence's tracking systems. Machine ships hesitated. For the first time in their recorded existence, they experienced something close to uncertainty. Alien military observers watched in disbelief. Human tactics violated every established military doctrine. They were not fighting. They were playing an intricate galaxy-wide game of technological chess. Quantum communication allowed instantaneous strategy modifications. A decision made on one ship could be implemented across the entire fleet in microseconds. No delay. No traditional communication bottlenecks. Kai's team had studied the machine civilization's core programming. They understood that these were not simply machines, but a distributed intelligence that viewed biological life as an inefficient system to be eliminated. But humans represented controlled chaos, the ability to make decisions that defied pure logical calculation. Each human ship carried multiple adaptive systems. If one approach failed, the vessel could instantly reconfigure its operational strategy. Weapons became communication devices. Defense systems transformed into offensive platforms. Traditional military boundaries dissolved. The battle moved beyond physical space. It became a complex dance of technological and psychological warfare. Machine ships attempted standard elimination protocols. Attack vectors were calculated. Probability matrices were generated. But human responses were never standard. A small, research vessel would suddenly transform its energy signature, becoming invisible to machine tracking systems. Another would send out complex mathematical signals that introduced computational noise into the machine network. Alien military commanders, who had previously dismissed humans, now watched with growing respect. This was not just warfare. This was a fundamental reimagining of military engagement. Kai understood they were fighting more than a technological threat. They were challenging fundamental understanding of intelligence, of survival, of adaptation. The hybrid fleet moved like a living organism. Each ship connected through quantum networks, sharing information, adapting, transforming. No central command, no rigid structure, pure collaborative intelligence. Machine ships began to malfunction. Their perfect calculations started breaking down when confronted with human unconventional tactics. Psychological warfare became as important as technological engagement. Human strategies introduced elements that the machine intelligence could not comprehend: deliberate irrationality, creative problem-solving, emotional complexity. As the battle progressed, something remarkable happened. Other biological civilizations began studying human strategies. They realized survival was not about perfect defense, but about the capacity to adapt, to be unpredictable. Kai watched the holographic displays, a slight smile crossing his face. The machine civilization had calculated every possible scenario, except one: the human capacity to transform limitation into opportunity. The war was changing, and for the first time, the outcome was no longer predictable. Humanity was no longer just defending. They were rewriting the fundamental rules of engagement. And the galaxy was watching. The diplomatic hall was silent. Representatives from multiple star systems sat around a circular platform, their eyes fixed on Jay Park. He stood at the center, calm and composed, representing a humanity that had transformed galactic understanding. The machine civilization lay defeated, not through overwhelming force but through something far more complex, human creativity and adaptive intelligence. Coral, the alien representative who once dismissed humanity, now looked different. Its crystalline form seemed less rigid, more reflective. The past conflicts had changed everything. Diplomatic relationships were no longer about traditional power structures. Humanity had introduced a new model of cooperation, one based on collaborative, problem-solving, and mutual respect. Scientific exchanges began happening at unprecedented rates. Human researchers worked alongside alien scientists, breaking down centuries of technological barriers. The quantum communication network developed earlier became the foundation of this new interstellar collaboration. Young scientists from Earth were suddenly in high demand, not because of advanced technology, but because of their unique approach to problem-solving. Where alien civilizations saw limitations, humans saw opportunities. The victory against the machine civilization was not just a military achievement. It was a fundamental shift in understanding intelligence, cooperation, and survival. Alien civilizations began studying human social structures. They discovered something remarkable. Humanity's strength came from diversity, from the ability to integrate different perspectives, from turning potential conflict into collaborative opportunity. Wu Li, who had been critical in developing strategic approaches during the conflict, now led international diplomatic efforts. His team represented a new kind of diplomacy, one that valued creativity over rigid protocols. The research facility where Hana Kim had developed quantum communication became a symbol of human potential. Young scientists from across the galaxy now sought to understand the human approach to innovation. Kai Choi, the military strategist who had led the hybrid fleet, now worked on developing collaborative defense systems. Military thinking transformed from destruction to protection, from conflict to prevention. Technological transfer happened in ways never before imagined. Alien civilizations shared advanced systems, and humans transformed them through creative adaptation. It was no longer about who had the most advanced technology, but about how that technology could be used to solve complex problems. Educational systems across multiple star systems began incorporating human learning methodologies. The emphasis shifted from rote learning to creative problem-solving, from rigid knowledge to adaptive thinking. The machine civilization's defeat became a turning point, not just in military history but in the fundamental understanding of intelligence and cooperation. Jay Park's speech that day became legendary. Potential, he said, is not measured by current capabilities, but by the willingness to imagine beyond limitations. Alien representatives listened, some with respect, some with lingering skepticism, but all with a newfound recognition of human capability. The quantum communication network expanded. What was once the experimental technology now connected entire star systems. Information flowed, freely breaking down centuries of isolation and misunderstanding. Research collaborations began spanning multiple civilizations. Problems that seemed impossible suddenly found innovative solutions through human-led interdisciplinary approaches. Economic systems transformed. Trade was no longer about resource extraction, but about collaborative development. Humanity introduced concepts of sustainable growth, of valuing innovation over pure economic gain. Environmental restoration projects began on multiple planets. Human ecological understanding provided new models for planetary healing and sustainable development. The galactic community was no longer a hierarchy. It became a network, with humanity playing a crucial role in connecting different civilizations, different perspectives. Corral approached Jay Park after the diplomatic session. Its crystalline form shifted colors, a gesture of respect in its culture. "We misunderstood," Corral said simply. Jay smiled. No additional words were needed. The galaxy had changed, and humanity had played a central role in that transformation, not through force, not through technology alone, but through something far more powerful: the unique human capacity to imagine, to adapt, to transform challenges into opportunities. A new chapter in galactic history had begun,